All right, I
Nope.
did. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Matchpoint podcast. Once again, I'm Aliossz, being joined by Sirius. We have another guest today. One who, to my knowledge, has not been placed in front of a camera before, so this should be
Nope.
interesting. We have Mr. Stan, otherwise
Hello,
known as
hello.
Mr. TPL. So
Mr.
should be a
TPL
good
is
time,
crazy.
Mr. TPL.
Just just TPL. That's it.
Just TPL. Just TPL.
But
Yeah.
before we get into the main conversation, we had a hiatus that was unintended, which was largely a result of whatever eldritch gods we pissed off at some point. Because I had a
Yeah.
hurricane happen that ate up an entire week, and Sirius had to go off to
I
war in like Middle Earth or something.
I had a string of 2 weeks of bad car troubles. First, my car of 8 years decided its engine just wanted to create a massive oil leak, and then as soon as I get a brand new car, I get into a car accident, which wasn't my fault, by the way. I should just preface that. But it does feel like life keeps kicking me in the dick. That's pretty much the emphasis of all this.
Yeah, we here on Matchpoint endorse good driving. That
Good
being said,
driving is a
though,
plus.
yeah, good driving is pretty cool. That being said, though, this is not a car podcast. This is a Rainbow Six podcast. We thought we'd start with just kind of a bit of history of Stan, just kind of establishing kind of how you got here, what chain of decisions led to this moment right now. So just kind of how did you get into the Rainbow Six ecosystem?
So, I don't know. So I originally started playing the game back in like middle school, probably like seventh grade. I know like a lot of people have definitely played before that, way earlier than that when the game first came out. But that was my first introduction really into Siege. Um, I don't know. A few years ago, back in I think 2022, 2021, I got approached to, work as an admin for TPL. So kind of just climbed the ranks there and we landed here today. So here we are. You know, the original owner of TPL approached me and was like, "Hey, if you play Siege, love to have you, try out and come work with us." So, you know, did that for a while and then just slowly climbed up the ranks and then we took over TPL and here we are.
Yeah, because you joined TPL in like
Yeah.
season 5, is that right? Because I
No,
remember playing season 1 and you definitely weren't there. And
I
so,
was there. I was there.
oh, you were there.
I
So I
was
just
there.
never really saw you.
No, you never really saw me. So
Wikipedia lied to us. More
Just a
research
little
while
bit.
prepping for this. Wikipedia lied to us.
so
Get on it, Patches.
the history of TPL is basically TPL was a console event, right? It's a console league for a very, very long time. So I joined when they were originally opening up the PC side of things. So they were transitioning from being a console league to a PC event. So I came on during TPL season 1 of PC, right? And then I was a lowly little admin, little guy. I don't know, like, just the way things were structured was hilarious to say the least. And then I just slowly kept working and I climbed the ranks and then suddenly I'm upper management. I'm like, all right, this is cool, I guess. I guess I'm in charge of things. And then I finally took TPL over 100% back in season 5. So for a while, TPL was just like a very small Mickey event, very Mickey Mouse, not, you know, a lot of stuff was not done correctly. So, I took it over. I was learning, got in contact with like Andrew and started meeting more people and just kept growing TPL to what it is today. So I was never really in charge of TPL until like 2 years ago, which is an insane thing to say, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
think that was when I started like casting with TPL because I remember it was like you and then like another guy who was just kind of there who was like
yeah.
I think in charge of things, but I'm not sure because I guess I saw him like once in like a qualifier when I was there.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yeah, Chief or something. Yeah, Chief. Yeah, Chief. Me and Chief basically ran the event for like a year before we took it over, and then we kind of went halvesies on it, but he just disappeared. So I'm the sole owner of TPL now,
Gotcha.
which is good. Which is good.
Mhm.
We love that. We love that for me.
So
Yep.
is TPL kind of your first involvement in like running competitive things, or had you kind of been doing things before that had gotten you noticed by the owners?
No. So the TPL was the first event I was ever involved with. So whatever TPL was and whatever TPL is now was part of me. I never worked on anything before that. TPL was my first introduction into like competitive siege, tournament organizing, that entire ecosystem of stuff. That was my first ever introduction. So I've learned a lot. You had to learn quick because,
Mm,
even though it was Mickey Mouse, you still had to,
yeah.
figure things out.
I mean, no, because seriously, because I already mentioned I played back in season one. Season one, as I think unintentionally I brought it up before, and that other casters have brought it up in a cast I've been in. And like the production value of it from season one till now has just been an insane just
Yeah.
difference of I don't even really remember if season one had
Season
much
was no,
production to begin with.
it was
I don't know if they did
nothing.
anything at all
Nope.
stream wise. It was pretty much just a league you played in. And now
Yeah.
it's like season 8, TPL Rush. It's just like it's this whole big thing. It's like absolutely insane turnaround. And it's
Yeah.
really was kind of around that season 5 mark where you fully took over and was like, okay, well, this is its own whole thing that just kind of seemingly came back from the dead. I don't want to say, but it's just kind of that's how
It
it
just
feels
like
because it's like,
came back.
oh, it's just came back. Okay, this is the
Yeah.
thing now.
Yeah. So I don't know. We saw a bunch of events. I know XGS is one example of an event we saw, and we were like, we have a goal in mind, and we want to achieve that goal. And
Mhm.
we were very stagnant for a very long time. Like back in season one, we were nothing. Like serious, I remember talking to you, having no clue who you were, and I'm just like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just here at this point. Um, so I don't know. Just seeing how things have grown is insane to me too, because I would look at other events and I'd see like SCS and SFCL and XGS, and I'm like, they have a production value. And TPL never ran a broadcast before this. TPL never did anything of the sorts. So I would look at that and I'm like, how are they doing that? And I wanted to figure out how I could do that and grow TPL to actually be worth something, because I don't know. I sunk a lot of time into it, and I wanted it
Mhm.
to be something that was worth showing for.
Mhm.
Mm.
I think I'd say that goal is achieved as someone
Oh
who's
yeah,
casted it at least once.
at least once.
Um,
That
so then
minimum
another
of one
kind of
time.
related question: how did you get started with like producing and like that whole kind of aspect
Producing?
of it? Because like going from like an admin to production, it's a little bit of a jump. It's not like a skill jump that a lot of people will make. Because you have been, in my opinion, one of the better producers to work with that I have seen. And the packages you build are also really cool, but that's like it's a pretty specific skill set to just kind of have, you know?
Yeah.
So, how do I put this into words? So, generally, I started on OBS. So, OPL has their like preset graphics that you can use. So we were like, all right, we have to broadcast our games or we're gonna be nothing. So we sat
Mm,
down, me and another staff member sat down, and we're like, we're gonna build out what we need and we're gonna figure out how to do this. And then we figured it out. And we ran OBS production for about 2 seasons. And I'm like, I don't like these OPL graphics anymore. I want to figure out how to like build things out and build them my way. So I got talking with Zay and Andrew at the time was on VMix or
mm,
just made the jump to VMix. And Zay was talking to me about like how different ways to use OBS to build out custom graphics. So
I
basic
gotcha.
like I just
Mm.
I start like in order to grow TPL, I had to, double task. I had to be an admin and I had to learn how to put a broadcast on. Because if I didn't do that, I did not have the people. I did not have anyone to really do that for me.
Right.
So I had to learn myself how to do these things. That's why I made the jump. And I'm still an admin. I still like direct nearly everything within TPL, but I had to learn production to make TPL worth
Mm,
something.
yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and we can kind of touch on this a little bit later in a more kind of broad sense, but you did kind of on aside from just working on TPL directly, you did do works with like Xenon, some Solar Flare when that was
Yes.
still a thing, and then I think you did you work with SCS in that season 7
No,
or
I did not.
but you did work with Element for Element 2, right?
So no. Hmm. So I did do work with SFCL and XGS. I'm still working with XGS. SFCL. Hang on, we're gonna backtrack for a moment. There's a lot of thoughts going on right now. So SCS 7 was during when I first got introduced really into production. So that was when I first kind of started getting recognized by people when I started working XGS, and that's when I like started observing and all that stuff. So I was not near ready for SCS. For me, definitely didn't even know who I was. So we were still growing, we were still learning. So while I was coming up, I did work for XGS and I filled in for SFCL and stuff like that when they needed people. I did like collegiate work for CR6 for Preston, all that fun stuff. So just to get reps in and learn. Um, I didn't work Element 2 directly. I didn't work Element 1. I haven't worked really any of the Element events.
Mhm.
Um, I've done their qualifiers. This past Element 3, I was working Phase 2. Um, Coverage was
Hey,
on
Sam.
TPL and stuff. And 3 in the morning, ending a production. Not my favorite moment, I won't lie. But, you know, it was fun. It's always fun. Production's a circus, you
Yep.
know. But like, you know, growing in production is very
Yeah,
fun.
that I want to say it was Tom DeLite that coined that phrase during a Genesis Grand Final where he was casting with Light Rose and then a fire alarm went off on his campus. And so he just dragged one of like the analysts and was like, "All right, you're co-caster now. Bye." Um, and
I
that
mean, it's
it's just held true. Like the more time has gone on, like the deeper I've gotten into it, even working with like the element people for phase 2, like it's just a circus.
Oh
it's
yeah.
very apt term for how things usually go. Because
Yeah.
there's always something that goes wrong.
Oh
Yep.
yeah.
It's
Every time you
always
press
something.
live. Every time you press live, something breaks.
It's not a matter of if, it is a matter of when.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yesterday I was casting in Blitz, and they were wondering like why Bang kept appearing on like the map band screen instead of Skyscraper. And then they found out that in the file, Skyscraper was named Skycraper, and so like it just couldn't find it. And then they renamed the file, and it just worked like perfectly with no issues.
I wonder why. I wonder why.
I wonder
I
why.
wonder why.
Oh God. Uh.
All love. It's all love.
Yep.
All
Oh,
love.
great.
We love those guys over at Blitz.
I've had a few moments like that myself. I have. I can't lie. I definitely have.
Yeah.
The amount of times I've just not like put a file in my package and I'm just
Mm-hmm.
like, oh,
Yeah.
this doesn't work anymore.
I think I've been in some of those voice calls where it's like, why the hell is this not working all of a sudden? It's just like it was working like 5 minutes
Yep.
ago, but now that I touch live, it's now suddenly just stopped.
Oh yeah, it's fucking
It's
great.
amazing.
It's great.
Yep.
No matter who the
Super
producer
fantastic.
is, no matter who made the package, no matter who is doing anything, just something will find a way to break, and then it'll
Oh
unbreak
yeah.
itself once you like turn the stream off to figure it out. It's amazing.
Don't get me
Uh,
started on Xfinity either. Don't get me started.
Oh no.
I I love just like having like been in production for so long. Just like when you're on like when you're watching like the NAL and you see the timer go from like stop counting down, and then like 10 seconds later it just says soon. It's like, oh, something is on fire. Something has gone horrifically wrong. They have no idea what's happening.
Oh
At those
God.
moments. I've been there when that's happening.
Yep. Oh God.
So speaking of
Well,
which, you have worked the NAL
I have.
a couple of different times, I believe. So, kind of what kind of did you do in the NAL while you were there?
So during NAL 24 stage one, I was the CG operator for the entire stage. From the opening night to the last day of the LCQ. So my job basically any graphic you saw on screen basically was controlled by me. Any stat graphic, any manual input, anything like that was controlled by me. So, you know, I'd have to manually input stats and then cross-check things and make sure everything is done correctly. If a graphic broke, which you've definitely seen many, many times, you blame me. It's my fault. It is my fault. But it's a fun experience. I definitely love doing it. It was very fun. It was different from what I'm usually doing because I'm usually juggling 10 million different things and I have to make sure everything kind of works in my favor. In that sense, I was doing things and just like more in depth than what I would usually be doing.
Mhm.
Recently for stage 2, I went back for a day. Unfortunately, I did get offered. I wanted to take the offer for stage 2, but I had work obligations and I couldn't, take the time off from work to do it. I hope to be back. Truthfully, I do hope to be back one day. But I went back for a day a few weeks ago actually, and I worked as a PTZ operator, which are the stage cams that move around and you zoom in, zoom out, stuff like that, which is pretty cool. It's very fun. You have to make sure things are framed correctly and all that stuff. So
So is
there's
your
a
float
lot of
players
different
have the
things.
wrong cams?
Oh,
No. Those are different. That's a different guy.
different
That's
guy.
that's a different guy. Don't
Was
blame
it
me.
Andrew? Was it Andrew's fault? Might have
No,
been Andrew's fault. No, it's not
no,
Andrew's
it's
fault.
no.
Okay.
Dur- during
They have a.
during SI when Zaysha was working that, a bunch of us were like watching it, and anytime there was a production error, regardless if it was working, we just had the running joke of like, just blame Zaysha. Go
It's
on
always his
Zaysha's
fault.
server, attack
Always Ace
Zaysha.
fault.
Always
His
Zay's
fault.
fault.
Always Ace
Always
fault.
his fault.
So now when you watch
Yep.
the NAL, if something goes wrong, make sure to tag @StanObserves on Twitter. I'm sure he'd love that.
It's not always my fault. It wasn't my fault this stage. It was not my fault this
He
stage. I
wasn't there
promise.
this stage, except
I
for one
wasn't
day.
there. I wasn't
Not
there,
his
man.
fault.
So then,
So, yeah.
go ahead, Sirius.
Oh no, I was just gonna go ahead and ask, just like now that you've had a little bit of experience working the NAL, like what's been like, in your opinion, what's the biggest difference between running a tier 3, tier 2-ish production to like doing the NAL, and like what's the kind of big difference in those two different spheres?
Ooh. If I had to pick, ooh, damn. There's a lot of differences. I do have to say, there's a lot different, especially working a studio broadcast,
Mhm.
because there's just so many more moving parts than you'd think. So I'm gonna start there. So with a tier 3 broadcast, usually, like in the case of TPL and XGS, your producer is doing everything. So the guy that is putting out the broadcast is doing graphics, doing audio, making sure everything is done correctly, and like everything is ingested and encoding and fixing anything that breaks, right? In a studio broadcast like the NAL, there's a lot more moving parts and there's a lot more people involved because when you're working on a studio, it's like, there's machines to do different things and you need one person for each of those machines, right? So you'd have a technical director working this entire switchboard that is just switching through different scenes and stuff like that. And you'll have your replay operator and your CG operator and your audio engineer. So the biggest difference to me was just the sheer amount of people that are needed to make that broadcast happen. Because there's a lot going on and a lot happening very quickly, and everything needs to be like perfect, nearly perfect. So if you have one person trying to run that broadcast, one, it's not going to work very well. Two, when things break, it's not you're not going to be able to fix it quickly. And it's just there's a lot that needs to happen all at the same time, and it has to run like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah. I mean, because especially compared to like TPL or Xenon, where it's usually just maybe at a minimum 4 people if you take the producer,
yeah.
the observer, and then the casters. And then for a lot of people, that's it.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's not even adding in if you're doing replays, stats, or anything else. So just that's kind of a very big step up in terms of just how many people it sounds like. So just
yeah. Well, the amount of people. So how many people did we have? 1, 2, 3. Like TD.
it looked like in
Audio,
most
PC.
recent picture that Andrew posted, it was like 20 people
Oh
just in
yeah,
the studio.
there's a lot. There's a lot. There's a lot of moving parts because
Mhm.
how many different stations are in that room? There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Doing math on a podcast is crazy. I always tell casters not to do math on
Don't do
broadcast.
math on.
Don't do
don't do
math on
math.
Don't
It's
do
never
math.
gonna be good.
Now we're doing math. Anyway, like at least 15 people just on the broadcast end to run that. I feel like
Mhm.
from my recollection, because every like it's just there's so much. There's so much because you have to have your cam operators, you have to have your CG op, your audio engineer, you have to have your engineer, your broadcast engineer there. So if things break, you can fix them. There's so much. There's so much, and that doesn't include everyone online. Like for that broadcast, our observers were online, our casters were online. Yeah, there's just so much. So when you're
Mhm.
doing a mix between a hybrid and a local, like it's a hybrid broadcast pretty much because you have your local side and you have your online side. So it's like you have to mesh the two together and make it work. So it's a lot of fun, but you see things break, and you know it's kind of panic inducing when things break, especially when it's your machine.
Oh, I don't know if you want to bring it up, Ali, but that's definitely not the biggest, like, most memorable screw up that we have ready to bring up. So, Ali, if you
So,
want to tee us up, go ahead.
so there's an image of a certain. I think he said he does IGD for the NAL, but I don't
Yes.
recall correctly. I'm gonna flash it up on screen on the podcast. Unfortunately, the other two will not be able to see it, but it's this image that it's over half of my face and all of Stan's of Andrew that battery. If you are allowed, can we have like this series of events leading up to it? Because just seeing that live was really funny. Like being friends with Andrew, just like seeing him pop up, like it was like a jump scare, dude. It was great.
So I can't exactly talk about the how it happened. Out of respect, like just I'm not exactly allowed to talk about it.
Yep.
But let's just say Andrew refreshed the link that he wasn't supposed to refresh in that moment, and suddenly the interview's gone and Andrew's on screen. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I can say. It's like that meme. It's like when you catch a kid with his like shirt up and his stomach is just out, and he's like eating chips. Like that's how I imagine that photo.
It's just so
It's
it's
so
so fucking good.
he
It's so
looks
good.
so, he looks so apprehensive of the situation
I
too. Like he doesn't understand what is happening. I have so many good battery pictures from that stage too. I have so many good Andrew pictures. Here,
Oh
wait, wait,
god.
wait, 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 wait.
we were debating for like a brief second putting that as the thumbnail picture instead of you. If we ever get Andrew on the podcast, by the way, that will be in
You
the
could
thumbnail.
probably could.
It's a
Um,
promise.
that,
You
that,
heard it
that
here.
that's not a promise. That's a threat. Um, I'm just gonna
Uh-oh.
leave him in the corner for a bit. So,
Oh boy.
so uh, you kind of talked about like the in person production and how that differs.
Yes.
There was a LAN that was announced for TPL for next year. So,
Potentially.
well,
Potentially.
potentially, I talked to
Potentially.
Cabled a little bit about it when he and I actually met in person a little while ago. And I'll let you reveal details on that since I'm not in charge of this whole thing. But I got some pretty interesting behind the scenes information. But kind of what is the deal with that right now?
So it's still a possibility. Needless to say, lands cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
They're a lot of money. And putting the budget together revealed some unexpected costs. Naturally, it happens to the best of us. So, you know, my wallet is not that deep, right? And a lot of other people's wallets are not that deep. So we have to get funding for the event. Easy, simple as that. And there's a lot of hurdles to jump through with that, and there's a lot that needs to happen before we can do that. Obviously, we'd love to run a LAN, but if we don't have the money and we don't want to not be able to deliver on something we want to do, right? Like if we're gonna run a LAN, we're gonna try and make it the best thing we possibly can. That's been the goal with every TPL season. That's been the goal with every event we've ran and any event that I've really been a part of. It's like I'm not going to half-ass something because I want it to, resemble the community. I want it to look good on me. I want it to look good on everyone that's working it. Because the whole point of me doing this is to help you guys out and give you guys opportunities that you guys otherwise wouldn't really have.
Hmm.
Right? Like I want like the whole reason I do production is to like help you guys get opportunities to work actual broadcasts. So the LAN, East Coast, hopefully Philadelphia, somewhere around there. Because I feel like Philly is very central in terms of states,
Yeah.
and there's a lot going on there. So even if players want to come play, they can have a day trip at the same time. They can go do stuff.
Yeah.
Not only that, a lot of our staff are local to Philly too, so that would reduce the cost
A
for
lot, I
me
would imagine.
a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have to pay for 10 different flights.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, I'm paying a couple $100 for gas. So
Yeah. I know. I was talking to someone else from another league who was planning on doing a LAN. And one thing I was told was that like obviously they want the best casters, but if there was someone who was
like,
cheaper, then they're gonna move up in that priority list just a little bit because
yeah,
everything costs money, and it's easier to do volunteer based when it's like online. I'm just in my house. But
yeah,
if
but you don't have
like
to do anything.
if you're flying if you're flying out to another state potentially to cast something like that, you're that's not something you can exactly just kind of drop everything to do for volunteer work. So it
No,
is
Yeah.
definitely more expensive.
yeah.
But with it being a LAN, kind of what would you kind of want the production for that to look like with kind of hybrid versus like all in person based off of your experiences being in the NAL, having worked fully remote, hybrid, and like everything in between, kind of.
So I wouldn't want. There's no shot I'm putting on an NAL broadcast for a LAN. Like
Yeah.
it's not feasible. It's a lot of money. That'd be a lot more money. Basically the whole premise for that production would just be something like fun. Like it'd be serious enough to where like, we're gonna obviously scale up as the LAN would progress. Like we're gonna open it up, we're gonna have fun, we're gonna have some obviously our standard pre-show stuff. Casters would be in person, maybe a desk in playoffs, stuff like that. Like we want to like an in-person LAN production. I would want to be similar in a sense to what like an SFCL or SCS playoff broadcast was. But I also understand that prior to playoffs, it's not as serious. Like I know a lot of teams are not really going to be like completely formed together for a LAN.
Yeah.
So it's a bit more difficult to like put together a general broadcast, like a general pre-playoff broadcast for that. So it's not going to be like balls to the wall, but I want it serious enough where you guys are going to have fun. I'm going to have fun. The players are getting the recognition that they deserve, and it looks good at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I try to be realistic and I try to put my best foot forward for what I want things to be. But yeah, that's what I would want. A desk in playoffs on a LAN. Hear me out. Just hear me out.
That would go huge. I love that.
That's what I'm saying. It'd be fun.
Yeah, and
Be great.
something that Serious and I've talked about a lot on here is chemistry between kind of casters because that is something that is important. It's something we know a lot about, obviously. And it would be interesting to see like the chemistry when you're standing like right next to each other, especially for like a desk, which is very very like conversational.
Yeah.
So hopefully something like that happens. That'd be fun.
Fingers crossed. Fingers
Fingers
are
crossed.
crossed.
I
Yeah.
hope so.
A LAN has always been something I've
Mhm.
kind of wanted to put on.
Yeah.
It'd be very, very fun for
Yeah.
everyone.
And after CGN died, I don't think we've had like
Gee,
anyone that's
Yeah.
done like
I've been only to one of those events, and it was a dumpster
I
fire to say the least.
I don't know how much I can like reveal about what I know because I wasn't there, but I was friends with a lot of people that did go. And the things I heard occasionally just kind of bordered on like a Saw 8, so like not exactly what you want from like a LAN, I would say. And I mean, I would hope that like I don't just show up to like a TPL LAN then just hear Stan like, I want to play a game. So
That would be a good pre-finals, like just kind of segment, just like Stan just unleashes all the craziness that's just stored up in his mind at the moment.
Yeah, let me just be a brand risk, guys. Let me be a
Dude,
brand risk.
I showed it to
Like,
broadcast
no.
once,
He's like,
and
no.
then
No.
Stan was doing box rotations for transitions this guy
I love
can be
Cube Zoom.
unhinged when he wants to be. That was a really fun night.
I love Cube Zoom.
Hell yeah.
Cube Zoom.
Cube Zoom, I love.
Barn door
Can we
transition.
see
Look,
that?
I'm gonna I'm gonna be able to love triangle with Cube Zoom and roller door and barn door transitions, and we're gonna get married.
Oh
It's
my
gonna be a
God.
beautiful wedding.
So can we get for the finals of the next TPL season Cube Zooms on the production? Just
All right,
don't
no.
tell the casters it's gonna happen.
No.
Just let them see it in real time. It'll be great.
Maybe during a tournament, I would like to
Yeah.
run TPL Winter, that
Mhm.
whole event. I would like to run that again this winter because yeah, it's fun. Give people stuff to play in.
Yeah.
But for a TPL season, I'm very serious about
Yeah.
that broadcast. Before a tournament, we can get a little unhinged.
Hell yeah.
We can get unhinged. Promise. 5-second roller door or barn door or cubes, just fire me up. Fire me up.
All right. So,
Dope.
this is not a question that's written down, but I'd like your thoughts regardless. Something we saw SFCL do sometimes is they'd have a desk, not for the main season, but for playoffs. I remember they got, I think it was Yeti a little bit after he retired for their desk.
Mhm.
Is that something you've considered doing with TPL, and what are the kind of production hurdles with doing a desk?
So I would like to do a desk. I think desks are very they're fun. They add a layer to a broadcast that otherwise is not achieved. Um, I can give casters as many graphics as I want, but the thing is casters have a lot to do. So if I can give analysts and a host those graphics, and then I can have them break down everything and then throw it to the casters, obviously I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
The production
Mhm.
hurdles is basically one, the manpower required. Instead of sourcing 5 people for a broadcast, I now need to source 9 about, right? No, my math is not mathing. 8. Yeah,
Closer to 8, yeah.
Yeah, a
yeah,
desk is
but
usually
yeah, but
most
then I have to
analysts.
find a host. I have to find 2
Mhm.
analysts, and then I have to make sure that they're synced up and that they're gonna work well together.
Mhm.
Because you have to make sure the desk is balanced at the same time.
Yeah.
I can't just throw like you know 2 random people in there and a host that's never hosted before
Mhm.
and hope it works. I need people that are
Yeah.
going to understand how a desk works.
Mhm.
And so I need the people, I need the internet bandwidth,
Mhm.
and I need the people just to be able to work together.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because I know, having done back when I did Genesis, I was on their desk a lot. And there were a couple times where I would host that kind of as well.
Mhm.
It's a very different skill set. And I found that a lot of my habits as a caster kind of messed with how I did the desk, because you have to talk in a very specific way. In when you're in a cast, because you can't go into extreme detail. You kind of have to just see the thing that happens. You got 30 seconds, and then you throw it to the other guy. Or if you're on color and you're explaining something, then the execute starts happening, you just cut off your sentence, and you're like, oh, look, a rush, and then you give it to down on a happy or whoever the hell you're casting with.
Hmm.
And so because I was used to that, I wouldn't go into nearly enough detail. And then hosting is a whole other fucking thing. Because something we talked about kind of with High Bear is there aren't a lot of opportunities to do that. So when Korbeck went to the NAL, which he absolutely deserved it, he fucking killed it. They weren't able to find a
job,
good
Korbeck.
replacement, and the replacement they got, who I think was good given the circumstances, clearly didn't know everything she needed to, which isn't her fault because this isn't her forte. But it's where do you get that experience kind of right now? Because there isn't a ton, but then you also have to find someone to do it. And we don't really have anyone with that kind of experience in the kind of T3 scene right now. I know someone who wants to be good at it, but like it is a wild fucking ride to get
Oh, yeah.
good at like being a host or even being an
Yeah.
analyst.
Mhm.
Yeah, a lot of the issue, like, I know casters are capable of doing it, but as you said, it's like not the skill set that you guys are used to,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I know casters that are very open to being an analyst or hosting,
Yeah.
but it's also very different from what you're used to doing,
Mm-hmm.
which like, I'm very open to putting you guys on there to do a desk, right?
Yeah.
Like TPL and XGS and stuff like that are for learning. Obviously, it's to make you guys look. It's like the same spiel I've been going over, but like you guys are supposed to learn. You guys are supposed to have fun and like grow your skill set. So I have no problem putting you guys on there for a desk. The issue is you guys are never available at the same time, and then things don't
Yep.
mesh well, and people don't mesh well together. Not because like they don't like each other. It's just different chemistries,
Mhm.
different styles of
Mhm.
people, and then it's like it comes down to one person not being available, and then it just can't
Yep.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
It is.
especially internet issues, because I know I think I've heard you talk about that before with maybe TPL season 8, is that we wanted to do a desk for that season, but just internet issues did not allow for it.
No.
So that's another thing that we have to consider is just, can the producer's internet even handle having this many people on?
Yeah, encoding and decoding feeds is a lot, guys. It takes because when I'm taking in your feed, I have to send you something back, right?
Mhm.
So I can either send you like nothing and just send you nothing burger and hope for the best, or I could send you something that's worth a shit and you guys can actually do your jobs. So it's like if
Yep.
I'm not gonna force a desk if I have like it's just
Yeah.
not worth it. I'd rather
Mhm.
have two solid casters and be able to keep that show running than put a desk on and give you guys nothing to work off.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Like
Makes
I'm not
sense.
gonna have you guys like parsec in and look at a clean feed. Like that just doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
I can
Yeah.
verify. I hit Parsec with a burning fucking passion. I have to use it like just little enough that it logs me out every fucking time I need to use it.
Yeah.
When when like they were doing the stuff for Blitz and like Nabok's like, yeah, we're gonna be a Parsec production. I was not happy with that at all. Thankfully, they didn't end up being a Parsec production, but I was ready for the worst. I hate that fucking program with a burning passion.
Ali is ready to riot
I
right
am
there in that moment.
absolutely ready to riot.
So
At any
I don't
given
know.
moment. That's my secret.
Parsec is industry standard, but it also sucks. Parsec, it's not good. It relies a lot on both of your bandwidth. It's just not good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
I
if the
hate.
other person's internet is not good, you're not gonna have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Just ugh.
Yeah.
I don't miss Parsec. I don't miss Parsec.
Yeah.
So something that happened in the last season of TPL, or no, not TPL, but for XGS, which you also work on, was for the playoffs. We kind of did a lot of prep as casters for how things were going. Like we
Yes.
poured over the stats and everything. And then you kind of would ask us like what kind of like graphics we wanted, like what we wanted to do for like a player head to
Yes.
head, and it helped us build like
Build out your pre-show.
storylines and kind of
Yes.
build cases for like the points you're trying to make. And I think that's the most directly I've seen you work kind of with casters for like how what they're saying is going to manifest
Yeah.
on the broadcast. Kind of how was that experience of getting to be more involved with that whole thing?
Um, I've always wanted to be more involved. I've just never really had the chance to be more involved.
Mhm.
Um, so with that, my goal was just, you know, I wanted to learn how to do it, and I know you guys have never really had the chance to do that. Um, it was a lot of fun. I genuinely enjoyed it a lot. It allowed me to like really let you guys tell the story that you were preparing for instead of going over just four separate box standard graphics. And when you as a caster come in with all this prep and you have four different just standard graphics that you're showing on screen,
Yep.
you guys are sitting on your cameras making points and you have nothing to show for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just you guys talking. And I know graphics help drive things home for people and it helps you guys make your points at the same time. Like you guys can talk about your points, and it obviously gets your point across, but it doesn't add that next layer to the broadcast. It doesn't let me build that out as well as like sitting down with you guys and looking and like talking over what you guys need and what I can give you and what would help make sense in that broadcast.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed it. I hope the guys I worked with really enjoyed it because it was a lot of fun, and I want to do more of that. I
Yeah,
was
'cause
I was
No, go ahead.
trying to like learn how to, be more involved and be more of a producer rather than just pressing buttons.
Yeah, no, because that's something I really appreciated doing Element 3, the
Yeah.
Phase 3 and Phase 4 a little bit, is just being able to kind of build out some of those points. So that's never something I got to do that often.
Oh yeah.
Down in TPL or Xenon, it's always like good to be like, because I always like prep points for teams and
Obviously.
everything, obviously, but then having something to help back that up and be like, hey, I'm not full of shit. I know what I'm kind of talking about. It's always great to have because it's
Oh
just
yeah.
like, it helps build up the story, builds up everything. So I think that's a nice little bit of collaboration between both the casters and producers and whoever else is involved.
Right.
It's like
Yeah.
this is a collaborative effort. I'm only as good as you make me, Stan, half the time. So that's
Oh, yeah.
great.
Stan saves
I
me.
mean, sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
For
Sometimes.
me, actually, that was the first time I'd really done like extensive prep. Like I'll like for playoffs at least, like kind of watch the teams and figure out like how do they play. Like, is this a team that I expect is gonna kill someone in the first like 40 seconds? Are they just gonna bunker down? But going through and like saying, hey, I can prove statistically that fluffy aimers like to play things kind of slowly because I could look at their opening kill times and then I can look at like Thrive's opening kill times and say like they're much faster
Oh yeah.
than fluffy aimers. I can like it was very satisfying like doing that prep, like having all of these numbers and then going through it and then on the stream the exact thing that I predicted like by looking at the stats like comes to life in front of me. It makes doing the color commentary a lot easier
Mhm.
as well, just since I kind of know like what to expect. And I think as well for like I know a lot of people like skip analyst desks or like pre segments before like casts because like it can be kind of boring, but like it is more context I think to the games that makes them more interesting. Especially like we did like a head to head between like Aimkey and JJ for
Yes.
the Fluff
I
Gamers
remember
Thrive
this.
game because like JJ won the playing game and was like, dude, Aimkey's fucking terrible. Like we're gonna play him. We're gonna fucking shit on that guy. And then I was like, all right, we got to do a head to head just for the storyline. And then he was right, and like we were able to through like some of those early graphics, like build that storyline, that kind of rivalry, and then throw it up on the stream. So it was really fun.
Yeah. And also it extends the time you guys are able to talk about things too. Because instead of it just being like a point after like a roster shown, it's like its own thing that you get to finally talk about. And I know everyone preps, and I know you guys all do this stuff, and I finally had the opportunity to be able to do it. I had the stats, I had everything in front of me, and I was just like, you know what? I have time, and you guys have never been able to do this, and I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna help you guys out because I want you guys to experience something that I've never really got to do, and you guys have never really gotten to do, and I wanted to make that happen because it's good to learn because it's what you're going to be doing when you get into tier 2 and tier 1.
Mm.
Like you're going to be sitting down at like as an analyst, as like you're going to be sitting down and talking to your producer about like the things that you need and the points that you're going to be making.
Yep.
Because you're building out the story of that broadcast. That you're
Mhm.
telling the story of those two teams in that broadcast. So you both need to be on the same page.
Yep, I can vouch for that because that's
Oh,
exactly
yeah.
what I had to do after every
Yeah.
show. It was like, if I have something coming up, I have to go talk to our producer and be like, "Hey, these are the things I want to have prepared,"
Yep.
and then we go get that done.
Yep.
And it was
Yeah.
great.
One
That's
thing that
supposed
was
to be done.
interesting from phase 2 of Element actually, which I'm sure was more intensive for you, was when I worked with I think his name was Devin. We would do like
Crater.
a rehearsal
Crater, yep.
before
Yeah.
Mhm.
like some of the broadcasts. Like you have uh my co-caster and I just kind of like go through what we wanted to talk about like before the stream was live, and then like like when we went then when we went live with the stream, like we had kind of already gone through everything. We knew what the talking
Yep.
points were. We kind of knew what the throws were. And I obviously didn't have like the full experience of like the T2 stuff because I mean I was only on phase 2. But like it was still like the things they ask of you are kind of like way more than they were for a lot of T3 things. So it is, I think, a good thing to have things like TPL and Xenon kind of like step up a little bit and not demand those things necessarily, but like give us the kind of space to start learning to do those things. So next time we are put in a situation like that, it's like, oh, I've been doing this forever.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because at tier 3, you guys never get to do that. Like it's
Mhm.
always, even like my broadcasts are the same way. It's like you show up, we go over the pre-show. You guys don't really have to rehearse because you've done it 5 different times. The same cookie cutter broadcast, just different storylines and different teams. So finally being able to expand on that for you guys at a tier 3 level, even though it's not as serious as stuff like Element and the NAL and stuff like that, I still feel is very like refreshing and very nice for you guys. And myself as a producer, finally getting to sit down and talk to you guys about a fucking pre-show. Great. Finally. I get to do my job.
Woo.
Fire me up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another question that is not written down, but that I think would be interesting. When I was talking to Happy about kind of his journey from like starting to like T2, one of the things he told me was that like Ferme called him the easiest caster to work with in T3, and then he was asked to do Element. As a producer, kind of what is your perspective on like working with the casters and like getting all that done? Because I'd imagine there are some things you'd enjoy and probably some things that are headaches. So it would be interesting to kind of see what you think of all that.
And like just in general, are we talking like very specific things here?
That's just in general.
Just generally? Okay. Well, one, getting you guys to center your cams and like do your audio checks, man, like, oh my god. Terrible, terrible time. Sitting there and Happy's counting 1, 2, like, all right, can we speed this up? I got other stuff to do. Anyway,
Yeah.
generally, you guys are actually very easy to work with. I don't think I've ever had a bad experience with you guys. I've had a few moments, won't name any names, but there have been a few moments where I've wanted to, you know, I've had to, you know, anyway, hold it together. But other than that, no, you guys are generally really easy to work with. And like seeing you guys start to improve and do well is also like amazing to me. It's like I'm sitting here and I'm putting out a broadcast you guys are finally improving on. So I can't, like, I don't ever really get upset with you guys. I don't ever, like, you guys are never difficult to me. You guys are always very easy going. Sometimes getting you guys to just sit and listen is a difficult because I know you guys want to like conversate a lot with each other and I'm like, hang on, give me
Oh, yeah.
5 minutes of your time and you guys can go back to talking.
Comms.
I'm sitting here yelling at you guys. I'm like, hey, can we go over this really quick so you guys don't struggle?
Mm-hmm.
And then you guys usually fold, and then we go over things, but it takes a while. But generally, you guys are not
Yeah.
non-issues, no issues. Observers are where I have issues. Observers are where I have issues.
Yeah. I was gonna learn to like observe for a bit, and then everyone was like, "Don't! You will never cast again. They will. You will be observing every day that you're available.
Oh, you
for-
will.
Oh,
No,
for love of the
genuinely. Yeah,
career."
no. Yeah. Your casting career is over if you learn to observe. I'm sorry. I never have any observers. I need a, like, someone calls out and my broadcast it, like, we're like, all right, so we might not be going live until 8 o'clock. Like that level of we need
Yep.
people. So if you want to observe, just let me know. Just let me know. Just shoot me a DM.
Yep.
We're open
Shoot.
to we're open to people, man. We're open to people.
Always open.
Always
Yeah.
open.
Especially in qualifiers.
Oh yeah. You guys can
Spe-
learn at
yeah.
any point.
So, speaking of that, actually, so a friend asked me recently, like, how do I get into production? How do I get into like the casting things? And obviously, one of the people that runs the leagues that uses casters and observers. So, kind of, what is your perspective on how the path people should take if they want to get into like casting or observing or like any of the production stuff?
Just ask. Genuinely, just ask. Um, during qualifiers and small events, it's not like we're very serious about who we need to run a broadcast, right? We use qualifiers to test new people out all the time. We're not prioritizing our best talent in qualifiers. One, because it's not worth it to them, and two, we want to bring new people into the scene and we want them to learn and we want them here. So if you want to learn to observe, if you want to learn to cast, if you want to learn to produce, just ask. Genuinely, just ask. Like, you'll only get turned down if you're just like an asshole. Genuinely. Like, I'm always open to bringing new people on. During TPL winter, I brought on so many new people. That entire broadcast was basically new people. The only people there that were like knew what they were doing was pretty much myself, Andrew, and maybe a few observers. Everyone else was basically new. And we do that a lot for qualifiers as well. Every single
Yeah.
qualifier I have, I'm trying out new people. Anyone that's less experienced will get put on before someone more experienced.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
just
Because it's
remember.
DM
always
someone and ask.
Yeah. And I remember when I one of the things. Uh, so when I met Tabled actually, I told him it wasn't available for like a caster in the quals. And he said that like he liked people like me on quals because I can do either role and I can tell the people who are less experienced like how to get better, how to cast
Oh yeah.
better.
Oh yeah.
Like for Xenon quals, I did have a caster one day, and I brought on a friend named Jin who had never casted before. Uh, and we just threw him on, and we figured it out. Between maps, we just kind of like talked about like what needed to be done to like make the flow better, and like what he needed to do to kind of be more coherent.
Right.
And it worked really well. He actually, a lot of people there were surprised that he'd never casted before, right? But like it is a great learning opportunity, and especially I know that like
Oh yeah.
there's the weekend tournament for Xenon coming up, and they
That
specifically
is coming
tweeted
up.
that they wanted
Mhm.
Yes.
Yep.
new people. So just ask. I know there are also leagues like AEL specifically has said they want like high quality casters, but that is because it is like they want to be like a T4 league. They want to be the place that like if you're an unknown player, you kind of go there to get your game day experience. If you're an unknown caster, you go there to get your casting experience, and then they kind
Mhm.
of build you up as talent, and then you can go to like somewhere like Xenon or TPL that'll have a little bit higher standards. Like there are lots of different places you can go to if you want to get into it, and you should get into it. It is
Oh yeah. It's
really
so much
fun,
fun.
even if you don't think you're gonna like get to T2. Like it's just fun to cast like that. That's the only reason I learned to do both play by play and color is this shit is just fun. Like
Oh yeah.
I can just get on with my friends and yell at a video game I like. Like what is there not to love about that, dude? It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
Touching on your one point about like putting people together that are more experienced. Um, Newer casters, it's very beneficial for them to be put with
Hmm.
someone more
Mhm.
experienced.
Yeah.
As you said, like it's easier for an experienced caster to guide. It's easier for the newer caster to go with someone more experienced because they can just get guided around the show more.
Hmm.
And then they
Yeah.
can learn their skills, and it helps them learn when to throw and just how to operate as a
Hmm.
caster. So
Yeah.
we always try to put someone at least a bit more experienced together with a new caster because very, very beneficial. It's
Hmm.
usually disastrous when we put two brand new people together.
Yep. Yeah. I remember the so I started casting an underground league and I it was bad. Don't look up those VODs. I will pay you not to look up those VODs.
Oh, okay.
But
I'll
Oh,
have to look.
much.
but then I got to Genesis, and the first cast I did was with Time to Light, and we did a map, and he was like, "Hey, just do color, man. Like, just focus on that and learn that, and then do the others." And then later I cast with like Sticula, and I'd never learned the concept of throwing or catching before. And he's like, "You talk for like 30 seconds, you hand it off to me, and then I'll talk for like 30, and we'll just keep going." And those are things that like you see happening when you're like watching like someone like Kickstar or like Links, but like when you have someone sit down and explain it to you, and when you're like in the cast itself, it is. I mean, I just think like you said, like having someone who can kind of cast you and say like, hey, there was some awkwardness here. If you do this, this, and this, yeah, you could be better. And that was actually something I enjoyed about casting Blitz last season was I worked with a lot of people who were very, very new.
Mhm.
I know for like Milo, I was his first ever co-caster, and between maps, he and I like just kind of sat down and talked about like how to catch and throw more effectively. And I pointed out like a crutch word he was using, and then next map it was way, way better. Like, and that's another thing as well. The production community is fucking awesome. Like you'll come in like wanting to get better, and people will just like help you. They'll answer questions. Especially if you're an observer, people love new observers.
Always love observers. Please, we need more. All the time. Please, God. Yeah, no, like, not necessarily to kind of extend this point, but just a general thing for anybody does want to get into casting or anything production wise is just be approachable and ready to learn, because that's
Mm-hmm.
really the biggest thing is just
Yep.
you gotta be ready to be friendly with a bunch of people very quickly and then learn how to do things, especially if you're brand fucking new. But hey, how do I do all this stuff? Well, okay, like here's how you do it. All right, and then just get better
Just
from
do it.
there. Because I mean, biggest they're never gonna let me forget this, but like Nomical and Goose, I remember casting with them for the first time, and it's definitely been like, yeah, these guys have very good potential, and then there's still obviously a bunch of things that they need to fix,
Mhm.
and then eventually started slowly working on it, and now look at them, they're running Blitz and
Yeah.
doing super well with that. So I mean, hey,
Yeah. I will admit here, when I first cast with Nomical, I didn't like him. I thought he was. I unironically, I thought Nomical was bad because he just his timing was awful that first cast, and then later we casted again in Element, and he was fucking great. Um, like now I really enjoy casting with Nomical. He is very, very good, but that is like that's not just a dog on Nomical. That is like you can just you can get better even like over a very quick period of time, because like that is something that was pointed out to him by I believe it was Crow. There's an entire like channel that was just like for the T2 casters to give us pointers, and Crow was like, "Hey, your timing is terrible, man. Like you gotta pick that up. Like you keep giving Ali play by play." And then next time I casted with him, that issue had dissolved completely.
Yep.
And we casted Makers versus Six Karma to determine who was going to go 3-0 in the Swiss stage, and I remember he put like a lot of effort into trying to emphasize like the kind of gravity of like the final rounds, because it was like overtime match point 7-7, and he was like, I'm gonna make this count, and it was just a lot. It was like only a couple of weeks, and he had improved drastically between those two times. And it doesn't happen if you don't listen, right? Just if you can listen, people will tell you what you need to do to get better.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
And that also helps us because oftentimes the best way to learn is by teaching. Um,
Oh really?
plus we just yap anyways, so like
Oh yeah. Y'all are a bunch of yappers. Love you guys, but you guys, oh my God. But yeah.
Hey, opposite problem for me. People need to get me to start talking half the time. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Just honestly, if you're new, just be teachable. Truthfully, ask questions. Ask loads
Yep.
of questions. If you don't know something, just fucking ask.
Yep.
I'm not gonna sit at my computer and be like, "No, I'm not explaining this to you. Why don't you know this?"
Yeah.
Ask. We are all very nice people. Generally, we
Most of the
will
time.
most of the time. Unless you get me on no caffeine, then I might be a little cranky. Other than that, um, but just be teachable. Listen when we tell you stuff. If you disagree, we can just if you want to do something differently, do something differently.
Yeah.
There's 10 different ways to do it. I'm gonna teach you the way I like it done. But just be teachable.
Mm,
That's all.
Mhm.
yeah.
All it comes down to.
So
Yeah.
this is something that Happy informed me of that I thought was kind of funny. And something we noticed as a trend because I've been around for a little bit in the Siege scene. There'll be like a time where it's like almost everyone's like a color caster, and you have like a handful of play-by-plays, and then
Oh
like
God.
a month later, everyone's like, there's an influx of people that do play-by-play, and it's been like switching pretty constantly. Like I remember, like in Xenon or not Xenon, it's Genesis forever ago. There was a season where we legitimately had like 2 competent play-by-plays, and so that was when I learned how to hybrid cast because they just kept throwing me with people so I could hit my head against a wall. Is that something that you would say has kind of been like a thing? Because I know when I first came back to casting, it was like we have an overabundance of color casters and like 2 play-by-plays, and then for TPL Rush, he's like, you're not gonna get any time on play-by-play, man. Like you're just not.
Just
They're too
please
fucking
God.
many of them. Like you are a commodity.
When a lot of people,
So many. Good God.
when a lot of people start out, we tell them to do color,
Mm-hmm.
and then that lasts for like a month, and then they do play by play. It's
Yeah.
the same way with observers. We have an overabundance observers for one event, and then suddenly they just disappear to the
Yeah.
Shadow Realm, and they're gone. It's just
Just
I
what
don't know.
happened?
Yeah.
What
Just
happened
what
to them?
happened? What happened?
Where are they? We'll never know.
I have all play-by-play casters and no observers. Great,
Yeah.
fantastic.
I think yesterday Andrew said that more observers than casters had filled out their availability for the weekend tournament, which that never happens, by the way.
Never.
What? There's no goddamn way that
This is like
happened.
seeing like legitimate footage of Bigfoot. Like you're just never gonna see that shit happen again. Like once in a lifetime, I was there to witness it. It's over now.
Never again. Never again. I have to look at this now. Hang on. What the
It might
fuck?
have changed since then, because I know he said that like the schedule's gonna be up pretty soon, but like he said at
Oh
the time he
god.
had more
He's not
observers than
wrong.
casters.
He's not wrong.
You-
Almost every observer filled out availability.
Good
You gotta
God,
put that
yeah.
in
Oh
Production Hall of
my
Fame.
god.
You gotta put that in
That's
Production Hall of Fame.
I
that is
told this.
monumental. Holy shit.
We need to save this. This is
Dude, it's like the fucking photo of like Bigfoot, like where he's striking the pose.
oh my
Hmm?
god.
Oh man. Okay. Well, that's insane.
Yeah, I had to
Can't
bring
believe
it
that.
up. I had to bring it up when he said that. Like it for most people watching this, I would imagine this is gonna be nothing. But like if you work in production, you
You'll
will know
understand.
that just never happens. Like that never fucking happens.
Yep.
All right, so
Also,
we've
I'm pretty
talked.
sure me and Stan both went to the sheet just to double check. It's like, wait, no, there's no goddamn way, right?
There's
There's
no
no
way.
fucking way.
There's no way.
And
And
he was
barely
right.
any casters filled it out. All
Yeah, you
right.
did.
I always
I
filled mine
also
out.
need to fill out my availability for this.
Damn. Caught
I've
skin
been
lacking in
busy. I haven't
4K.
filled it out at
I've
all.
been a little busy too. I've been a little busy. This is like the first Saturday I'm actually like doing nothing. Thank God.
And you choose to spend it with us.
Obviously, I'm having fun. That's what
Hell
matters.
yeah.
You.
Yeah. It's been a good
Obviously.
discussion, I think.
Yeah.
I love this.
So we've talked about kind of the stuff a lot. I want to leave that with one final question, which is what has been your favorite part kind of running something that is, I would argue, been very important to kind of that T3 scene and to a lot of like the people that are in it on like the production as well as competitive ends of the spectrum.
My favorite part of it.
Yeah. You can have multiple.
Ooh,
You can have multiple.
honestly, just the production and the people. It's insane to be able to run something at that scale. Um, if you told me TPL was going to be what TPL is now, when I first started, I wouldn't believe you. I thought TPL was doomed when I first started in it, just seeing how things were ran. And I'm like, I guess I'll stick this out. So, like, getting to meet a lot of you guys and getting to run the broadcasts and let you guys learn and meet new people and just grow something to the scale it is and given me so many opportunities and given other people so many opportunities,
Mhm.
I think that's definitely my favorite part of doing it. The community aspect, the people of it, the Siege community, as grim as it is sometimes, it's a great community.
Oh yeah.
Usually, the production people I've met, everyone I've met has been great.
Yeah.
So that's genuinely one of my favorite parts of doing this. Also, it's just a lot of fun. Like you can't. I feel like you can't get this experience anywhere else.
Yeah.
You can in other games, but it's still like same premise. It's outside of anything a lot of people will do.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like I was saying earlier. It's a fucking blast. Like
Oh
I've
yeah.
made actual friends through this, which
Oh
is
yeah.
surprising. And now I get to make Yali sad by calling her my boss constantly. She hates it when you do that. If you work for Game Rogue under Yali, you should absolutely do that. I fully endorse this. But now, actually, there was a final question I'd written. What are your thoughts on Xenon as being kind of the main competitor to TPL? What are your thoughts on
Competitor, collaborator. It's a weird dynamic.
um, TPL to the moon. So
Xenon?
no,
Sounds about right.
Xenon's cool. I like Xenon. I like working with Xenon. I like Andrew. You know, we both have the same goal in mind. Andrew pisses me off all the time. That's okay though.
Yeah.
TPL's still better though. TPL's still better.
I had to
TPL's
cast
still
with you
better.
once. That was fun.
No,
I did
It,
too.
no.
it
Stop,
was
stop,
it was
stop,
like a
stop. I need these
qualifier.
VOD. I need these VODs,
It was
man.
like
I
a
need these VODs.
qualifier, and we
I
just
don't.
didn't have another caster.
What
And so
the
we were just like,
hell?
well, fuck it, I'm casting with you, I guess.
No,
It was a
because I
time.
remember casting with him on Chalet for a map, and I
I
don't.
also cast with him on Chalet.
No
It was
fucking
a
way.
fucking time, dude. I think like on the last round he talked for like 2 minutes straight until I just butted in and was like, all right, I'm playing by play now.
Well,
I want to cast with all of like the production people from T3. I gotta get Stan. I gotta get Tabled. Matt. I gotta get Zach. It's like the Infinity Stones, dude. I think it would be so funny if that was just like on like a piece of like the Aliossz lore.
Well, you got me this far, so it's looking a bit more promising. You putting me in front of a camera is still a crime. You never put me in front of a camera.
Dude, whenever Stan, I was talking to Stan like yesterday or Thursday about this, and he's like,
Yep.
"I'm gonna be on camera, aren't I?"
Look,
I need to make my
Yes.
fucking bed, man. God damn it.
man. When I wake up in the morning, the last thing that crosses my mind is making my bed. All right, let's be so for real.
Yep.
Why am I gonna make my bed when I'm just gonna get in it and destroy it again?
That's
Yep.
true.
We're just living
true.
efficiently. We're just living efficiently.
Yeah.
That's what this comes down to.
And it was also at that moment that I realized I haven't really seen Stan's face all that often. And I've worked with him for
no.
basically 2 years now. I'm like, hold on.
Yeah.
I don't even really remember what he looks like.
It's my profile picture. It's on my Wikipedia page. I'm important now. That's not what that means.
I honestly forgot that you changed yours. I thought it was the red panda
The
still.
red panda. The red. We had to change up the red panda. We had to change it up, unfortunately.
Oh, damn.
I have to look a little bit more professional.
I mean
Not
that is
sorry.
part of like the goal I had when I asked Cirrus to start this was like getting people that you wouldn't see as much on like giving them an opportunity to talk to a camera and just kind of tell their stories, give that perspective, because like that was one of the things with like 6-on-6 was like you see a lot of like pro players and casters, which that is a very interesting perspective, but like who's the guy that like runs the broadcast that they're on, like who's the guy organizing those tournaments?
Right.
And it is a little bit of a difficult thing because sometimes like the people who are behind the camera are not as personable because you just don't need to be for the most
Right.
part. Like as a caster, if I have the charisma of a rock, I'm not
It's
going
not
anywhere.
good. You're not going.
It's just
So
not
like
happening.
I am used to having a camera pointed at my face, right? But a lot of people, it's a skill, right? Like it is a skill. I mean, even like if you look at those early VODs, I had no fucking clue what I was doing. I was just fucking yapping, man. And I've made it this far though, so
That's what matters.
That's what really matters.
That's what really
that's what
matters.
matters. Aliossz, former rock. Put that on my Wikipedia page, Patches.
Patches, get on it.
Get
Also,
on it, Patches.
add pictures
Yeah,
to our
please,
profiles.
give
We
me a
probably need
picture
to
of
send you something.
Give me a
You do
picture
have
of my
to.
Wikipedia.
You have to email it. You have to email it to Wikipedia. You have to
God
email it.
damn it.
I'll do
Ah,
that after
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is done. Except I'm gonna put it upside down.
I can send you the email. I can send you guys.
Hell
The
yeah.
Perfect. Hell yeah.
Um,
All right. Well, I think in other news, because that's kind of all of our questions
Yeah.
for you. So more
Yeah.
general sense of just general tier 2 siege stuff. CL for life has
CL
just
for life.
recently qualified for the Montreal
dude,
major.
that was fucking awesome. I love
As they
Packer.
should.
I love Packer, dude. That guy. I, I really hope he'll be in Boston for SI because I'm not going to the Montreal major. My wallet said no while holding a gun to my head.
Yep.
I want to meet Packer. That interview after was so good.
I'm glad they qualified. You
I am
you
too.
have to see more. You have to see more teams qualify like that. Honestly,
Mhm. Yeah.
Mhm.
thank God. Yeah, it's just
I mean, I
needed that.
I
Needed that.
think that the like discussion around T2 for the past few months has been really interesting, and that's just like the perfect like cap on it. Like
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
as in
Yeah.
wildcard restart, like or well, in element 3, a bunch of T2 teams were beating pro teams, right? Even though Sonics wasn't at full strength, like SSG Academy and Makers both beat them, and they were really good games. And then Makers beat Wildcard in the final, and then like Wildcard restart happens. Makers are going through roster changes. They just lost Gobi and Wu, so they didn't do as well. But Fluffy Aimers were dismantling pro teams, and like I remember Deity as well was just like doing fucking black magic from the Shadow Realm against like some of these teams. Like he was like a fucking T2 NJR man. And then like now in the LCQ, Makers or now CL for life just go in and they went like 6-2 in like map count against pro league teams, including beating C9 Beast Coast, who were the reigning major champions, like knocking them out of the major and qualifying. It was a beautiful storyline to watch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, especially watching them from TPL to
Oh, yeah.
Element and then
Yep.
Yeah.
even Xenon for a little bit, even though I didn't cast it. It's still like, okay, well, these guys are pretty damn scary. And now they're going to a major outside of some teams who some people would probably thought that, oh yeah, they're absolute shoe-ins, like whether it's Beast Coast, Cloud9, Wildcard. I mean, hell, M80 or Oxygen, just
Oh,
take your
yeah.
pick out of the ones that were left. I mean, considering that the only other reference that we have is 2021 SI with Parabellum and Bakers, who is still the Italian team at the time, that's our last reference for a tier
Yeah.
2 team making it up to a level this high.
And none of them really did that bad, if I recall.
No,
I think they
because I
both made
mean,
it out of
Parabellum
groups.
beat G2, and then I
Yeah.
think Makers beat someone else.
I love teams that shouldn't be G2 beating G2. Parabellum and Fearx. Um, I'm just a G2 hater. This is a known fact. Have been
Really
for
known
like
fact.
3 years now. I'm going strong still.
Hell yeah.
So I'm interested to see what org is going to pick them up. Because I mean, it's been not confirmed, but I think probably just widely accepted that they'll probably get the 10th NAL spot after, like, because I mean we've needed one ever since Poison killed Mirage.
True.
But I think this kind of like if they're getting it, I think I'd be surprised if they didn't.
Yeah.
They're
And if
going to the major.
they don't get it somehow just by just buying into that 10th spot or something else, then I mean, hopefully some of the other news that we'll be talking about in a second should help
Hopefully.
with that.
Yeah.
I hope, because
I
now,
Yeah.
yeah, Challenger Series has just been announced and relegations in general are back.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that we had been asking for is
Mhm.
just bring
I
back
think it is worth
relegations.
noting. I think it is worth noting. They don't call it relegation, they call it promotion.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that affects anything, but
Yeah, no.
I think it is worth making that distinction. I've seen speculation that it'll be like a rotating spot that a T2 team will just kind of occupy as like a pseudo NAL team each stage, but like we don't know
Yeah.
realistically. I am personally holding off full judgment until they reveal exactly how it's going to work, which I'd imagine is going to be at Montreal. So I'm keeping my eyes kind of open for that. But they did announce the Challenger Series is coming back, which is like kind of like the CL of old that would like run alongside the NAL stage,
Mhm.
which is
Mhm.
huge news, I would
Oh
say.
yeah.
Is I've been saying for a little bit that like you need an actual challenger league to kind of breed the competitors that will go to T1. And especially if it has like a real relegation, like just for like the competitive aspect of Pro League and everything else, I think that would be really good.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. A big issue too is no one runs alongside the NAL.
Mm-hmm.
So no amateur event, no
Yeah.
like element runs, nothing.
Mhm.
So definitely having those relegations back and a true T2 circuit is going to be huge for the community because like as we saw with CL for Light, like, these teams can compete and they've never been given that opportunity before. They've never been able to
Yep.
get to that point. So I think seeing the relegations back and the circuit come back is a very, very good sign
Oh
for
yeah.
this
Mhm.
ecosystem.
Yeah. Especially since basically it's been TPL and Xenon as kind of the breeding grounds for a lot of these top
Oh, yeah.
echelon teams in tier 2 who then go on to wait for element to happen because
Yeah.
you guys take up the in between periods for basically everything now because it's like
Yes.
TPL, Xenon,
Mhm.
then maybe element, then we wait for NAL to start.
Yeah.
Maybe we get something else in between there, but that's kind of normally the cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And it's kind of like now we finally get something else to run this, and now we
Oh yeah.
finally have somewhere for these teams to go because we've had plenty of good teams. I mean, we saw Karn & Co, we saw like Envy, a lot of that core, and now Makers, now Seal for Life,
Mhm.
doing the same things here. So it's
Yep.
like now they finally have somewhere to go. That's
Oh
great.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like
And go ahead.
amateur events can only do so much. They can
Mm-hmm.
only a true path to pro league is a very good thing to have.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Very, very good.
And I think as well, like a lot of people that like work on like TPL and Xenon work the NAL as well, which you guys all deserve it. But that means like I know like the last Xenon event had a little bit of trouble with scheduling because Andrew had to work Xenon and then immediately go work the NAL because it
Yes.
was like sandwiched at like just the wrong time for a lot of T2 teams. Like I know like
Yes.
Karnico really struggled because they just lost like 2 players to Pro League. Um and then like Ariel as well had just lost like Mike W and then Poison in very quick succession. Because that's just kind of what happens after like something like Element 3 ends, as the teams are going to start making changes and Pro League teams are also rounding out their rosters. But then like they had to play through that anyways because like of the timing. And so having like a true T2 circuit will hopefully prevent a little bit of that. And as well like having like a real off season hopefully will allow stuff like AEL and like Blitz to grow, the more kind of like grassroots like amateur stuff.
Mhm.
I'm also hoping it gives more opportunities for productions, partially selfishly, obviously.
Obviously.
But I think
Obviously.
it like growing. I think CL will be good for both like the competitor aspect and also like the talent aspect. Because it gives more casting opportunities, and I mean that's just always a good thing. And hopefully we see more like people who are kind of rising the ranks of like
Mhm.
observation and like the actual like production of the streams itself kind of got to go up there. And like you said, the NAL is very different to running like Xenon.
Oh
If you
yes.
can introduce like a tad bit of that into like the Challenger series, like kind of like you were saying, like giving us the opportunity to like prepare and bring stories forward, like giving a little bit of opportunity for like people to kind of experience what those roles are like in T1 can also help to train the people that will eventually take those jobs as the scene grows and as people move into different locations.
Mhm. In general, I just hope I get hired for it because I
Me
mean
too,
that'd be nice.
honestly.
That'd be nice.
Rightfully so. Rightfully so. You want to be
I,
hired for
I
that stuff.
haven't been able to cast in so long. It's been a lot. It's
You
been
should
a
have
while.
casted Blitz with me yesterday.
Yeah, well, I've had other priorities to take care of, Hallie. You know this.
I
You've seen the car that I
have seen the
had.
car. I have seen the car. It was quite something.
Yep. It's
Yeah, I'm excited. So who do we think will be the teams in that? Because there's been quite a bit of shakeup in the way the T2 like kind of landscape looks like team wise. Like Aerial Arise is dead. I don't think Carnico's a thing anymore. And CL4
Yeah.
Life, I think, is pretty much just a T1 team at this point. Unless like all their players get poached by like other pro league teams, which I hope doesn't happen.
yeah. I mean, at this point, I don't know who's all still really left.
I don't know either. There's been a lot of shakeup. There's been a lot.
I know. That might be a leak, actually.
Like
Never mind.
like Thrive might still be a thing. Fluffy
Thrive is
Aimers,
still
I
a
know,
thing.
or
Fluffy Aimers
Thrive-
is still a thing.
yeah, Fluffy Aimers, I know, are going through shakeups at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but
just got
they're
spiked.
still a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know
But-
Thrive recently swapped out Inrio for Ambi, or for Aimkey, not Ambi.
Yeah.
I know that Mormon Battalion, which is like Scoob and like X Siege and Aimkey, is a thing. Sesh is still a
basically
thing.
old Wanda goons.
Yeah. I know Envy qualified for Blitz as well, so that's a thing now. It would be kind of funny to see Joe Sasenia in T2.
Didn't Joe
He was
play?
in for a
He was
little.
in CL, right?
Yeah, he was
What?
For a
in
little bit. For
I
a very
forget
little.
what
yeah.
season.
That's really funny.
Hang
Shout
on,
out to
we're
that
gonna
guy,
go
by
look
the
this
way.
up.
He was a gentleman when scheduling scrims, which not everyone is, unfortunately, as I learned during 4 years of
Nope.
suffering and pain. Building teams is hard. If you can do it well, it's a very good skill to have, but oh my gosh, you will be staying up at night, like, with your head in your hair, like, what am I doing?
That's why I quit after one team. I'm just like, I'm not doing this again. It's not my vibe. I don't want to do this.
I can't find him.
Unfortunate.
That's very unfortunate.
Yeah, seeing him in there would be really fun. I like that guy.
Yep.
I think there are
Mhm.
like some good candidates right now, but I also know that like people are going to be cooking for like the Challenger Series. I'm sure Ozone has something in the works. I know Woo's is LFT after being dropped from LG. I know that
Yep.
Sublik is LFT after being dropped from LG. There are gonna be people that cook up more things. Like I'm just kind of excited to see like what this does, because I want to see like what happens with the actual circuit.
Yeah.
Especially for players like a point I forgot earlier that I meant to bring up was like Giddy's been in T2 since like the dinosaurs roamed the earth, man. That guy made a major before he made Pro League, which is very funny to think about. But like when you have like a direct path to Pro League, there's an incentive to build more of a team and like stick together, like what happened with reality TV, or like Parabellum. But like with the current system, like there isn't as much incentive to, because if like you look at individually, you'll get Pro League tryouts, and that's kind of the only way. So I do hope that more like of like the not underdog players, but like the less flashy players kind of get chances because of that. I mean, even like a lot of the people on CL4L were kind of like rejects almost. Like Adam had just been dropped from Sonics and then go back into Pro League. Packer hadn't been in Pro League since Wildcard when that roster dissolved. Giddy's just been in CL since the beginning of time. And then there's Tristan. So
then there's Tristan.
And there's Tristan.
I can't tell if that's a diss or not.
Look at the Canadian tweet and you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, God.
Canadian was tweeting about Tristan after they made the major. Well, a lot of those players were like people who had been in T1 or hadn't been given a proper chance at T1, and were then like down in T2 again, who proved that they can more than compete with the work they were putting in. Even some of those guys having to work like full-time jobs and were still like beating professional teams. So I am interested to see like if we're gonna see more of that, because I remember like in the last stage of CL when there were right after relegations have been removed, like there was like a lot of really really good teams. Like Ariel was also really good back then when I think they had it was like Jay, Reed, Freak, Poison, and then like I don't remember who else. It was a good time. It's also where Crow and Fellow came from
Mm,
and
yeah.
lived for years.
Well, I could say they never left.
Yeah. So,
All right.
all right. You got anything else, Arius?
I don't got anything else.
Any words of wisdom, Staniel?
Any words of wisdom? I don't know, man. Just, if you want to get involved, just ask. Just ask. Just have
Just
fun.
ask.
We're great
Just
people.
ask.
Just ask. It was great talking to you guys. Genuinely.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was
I'm
fun.
enjoying this. Been enjoying this.
Oh,
So, when's the next TPL stuff? Has anything been announced yet?
No, not yet. Not yet. We're gonna start cooking probably soon, November.
Hell yeah.
Taking a
Or-
little break.
Yeah.
Taking a little break.
I really want to see, by the way, like, Matt Table will draw, like, stuff in, like, MS Paint, then, like, send it to Stan, and then, like, Stan creates, like, some of the graphics off of that. I really want to see the table drawings be released.
You want to see the table drawings?
table concept drawings.
I want to see the table
See,
concept
all right.
drawings.
No hate the Matt. No hate the table. But the shit he draws in MS Paint is so stupid. He sends it to me, and I'm like, one, I have no use for this. Two, let me make the graphic. Three, what are we trying to accomplish here? So,
Yeah. I saw some of them, and then like what they became from the last season of TPL, and it was really
Oh
funny.
my god.
You should just
They're
do
like
like an April Fool's tournament one year that just has like him doing all the graphics and like MS Paint, and just see how that fucking goes.
Matthew Tabled Adams Productions and MS Paint.
I
It
think
would
that
go
would be
so no, it'd be
amazing.
so bad.
Would it be more or less troll than a Zayshow production when he's just kind of goofing off?
Less.
Be less troll?
Less
Yeah,
troll.
that's
less
fair.
troll.
that Pride Jam was so much fun.
It was
Pride
so
Jam was
good.
fun. Pride Jam
Dude.
was fun.
I just love we got fucking Shifty on, and we were just like, all right, you're gonna bring us in. It's just 3, 2, 1, and then we just fucking sent it.
Yeah,
And then
we
Zay
had so many
fucking
people
full
just
screened
randomly
it.
join in, and it's like, oh, well, you're here. Come cast.
I would like it to be known, by the way, that like the channel we were in the Discord for that whole thing was called Yuri. This is fucking Zay show. Someone paid $50 for having to change his microphone to a fucking webcam mic, by the way.
Yep.
They paid $50
Happy's
for
funny
the
mic is great. Happy's funny mic is great.
It's amazing.
I love when I try to do Happy's audio checks and he's like, "Hang on, 1 second," and then he puts the funny mic on. I'm like, "Happy,
Happy. Please.
happy, please,
Happy
please
go.
help." And then he does his 1, 2. I'm like, "Happy, come on,
Come on.
give me some work with me here, bro. Work with me."
know. It's gonna be great when we get him on the podcast after like making fun of him like 3 episodes in a row. Like,
He's like, "So you guys been talking shit, huh?"
there's been
No.
happy slander on every episode, which
No.
is the benefit of having his duo on the broadcast, just for the
Yep.
record.
Love you, duo. You're great. I have no ill words. All them. I just want it for the record.
Oh man, if I ever get a cast duo, we're gonna have so much fun. Happy will finally
God.
catch a break.
It's like,
Happy
thank
will finally
God.
catch a break.
I tried to get people to tag Happy on like Hyber's Daystar jersey giveaway in the last one. I don't think anyone watched that far in though, which made me a
What
little
the
sad
hell?
because I didn't see the influx of Happy tags as much as I would have liked.
Damn.
Damn.
Unfortunate.
Very unfortunate.
Yeah, highly unfortunate. It's okay. We'll fix the engagement for next time.
Fix the engagement for next time. Bye, viewers.
Could do these live. I considered it actually, and then I
We
decided
could.
not to because that things can go wrong.
Very
True.
wrong.
The room for error is much greater live
Yeah.
than yeah. I know a thing or two.
We've already talked about it.
We have.
It's so much worse when it goes live.
Okay.
We'll get like
Oh,
a
yeah.
producer for the podcast so we could do it live. Hire Tabled to do it.
I only have
Hire-
one request. We hire Zayshow. Nothing but barn door transitions.
It's not even gonna be barn door transitions. He's just gonna like take his mouse and like drag it onto the screen.
And then it's
We
just
get-
gonna be him screaming in my ears, just
Dude.
yelling about some shit.
It was like
Yelling
1
at
in the
you.
morning once on a TPL broadcast, and Zayshow joins the team speak is like, "We're starting to do a break. We're starting to do a break. Break. We're starting to do a break. Break." And I was just like, "What is fucking going on?" And then I think that was also the one where Stan was like going in my ear specifically, just meowing at me, like, but not my fucking co-caster, just me.
No. Wait. Who was your co-caster that night? Do you remember?
Breadroke, I think.
Oh yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't want to
was-
troll Red Rope too much.
And then Zayshow like messaged me an invite to play poker over Discord. It was. I love Zayshow. He is like such a talented like
Oh yeah.
producer. Like the shit that guy
Zay is
cooks up.
great.
He uses his power for evil.
You give him
Like-
even a small chance to troll, he will probably do it.
Dude.
He will find a way.
There was like a part in Wildcard Restart where like they went back to like John and Crow, like the casters, the chems, and then like John was caught like full finger up nose. I'm semi convinced that was on purpose from Zay.
It absolutely was.
Oh yeah. If you told me that he did that on purpose, I would believe you with no proof. Just knowing Zay show. I love that guy. With that being said, though, unless we want to make fun of Happy some more, I think we ran out of talking points. So I will leave you with the floor, Stan, to kind of give us some last words or kind of talk about some things that you would want to shout out, things that might be coming up.
Thank you guys truly for having me on. Love talking about this stuff. Giving my insight into things is great. I don't know everything, but I do like to share the things that I do know. Hopefully TPL will be coming back in the winter for a little tournament. Then we'll come back in probably the spring with a full event. Throw that out there in case you guys want, our typical stuff. I had a lot of fun. If you guys have any questions or need anything, do send me a DM. If you guys want to get into production or learn anything or have any other questions, just DM me. My DMs are always open. Ask as many questions as you want. Just, love teaching, love engaging with you guys. It's always great. Always a fun time. Always.
Hell yeah.
That's it.
So make sure to go follow Stan on Twitter. His Twitter at will be like roughly by where his thing is in the Discord overlay. So make sure to go follow him. He's great. I'll throw the TPL stuff in the description as well. This is not necessarily Stan's domain, but there is a tournament for Xenon coming up pretty soon. So go and sign up for that, or if you want to potentially cast it or observe it, go ahead and message Andrew on Twitter, or I'm sure Stan could help you out with that as well. He and Andrew work very, very closely. But yeah, I think we're good. Anything serious?
Nope, that's good.
All right, well, have a wonderful rest of your day, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you again to Stan for coming and yapping with us for the past hour and a half. That is it from us over here at Matchpoint, and I will be stopping the recording.